we marry. The last 34 years of our married life, the tithe and offerings beyond the tithe, that's been a part of the believer's checklist for us, so right along with Bible study and prayer and church attendance. And we've given the tithes and offerings, as most of you have, in a persistent way, and that persistence overcomes the resistance of greed and whatever motivation there might be that would force us to cheat on God. And then there's the need for persistence in your family responsibilities. I have never seen so many families break down today in my life, in my 40 years in the ministry. Families falling apart, and most of the time not because of some major thing. Usually lack of communication, lack of understanding, lack of compassion, lack of devotion. Sometimes it begins to manifest itself in infidelity and cruelty and abuse, but generally little things like insensitivity. Persistence in your family responsibilities, beginning with devotion to your spouse, devotion to your husband, to your wife, showing him, showing her the utmost sensitivity and care and caution and love and attention, and proving to him, you're the only man in my life, to her, you're the only woman in my life. Devotion, persistence, doing it several times a day. And when the old couple was sitting down before a counselor after 40 years of marriage, she was complaining to the counselor that he hasn't told me he loved me in 10 years. And he responded, I told you that when I married you and I haven't changed my mind. But that's not enough. It is not enough to say I told you once. Persistence means sticking with it, showing it in so many ways. Attention to your children. As Maisel and I watched our daughter Jeannie place the hood on her husband Paul Savas, now both of them surgeons, we couldn't help yesterday but rejoice in our hearts because we remember every kindergarten graduation, high school graduation, college graduation, medical school graduation we've attended. We remember every violin and piano recital that she gave. We remember every bad day and good day she's had. We've been there. Likewise with Jerry Jr. and Jonathan. Our children are not perfect, but we just wouldn't trade them for anybody else, and they've never broken our hearts one time, and we've never bailed them out of jail, nor have they ever had a smoking or a drinking problem, nor have they ever been disobedient to their parents, and they're all born again and have Christian families, but it didn't happen accidentally. And those of you that have been blessed with great families, you know what it took. Persistence in attending to their needs and making them under God first in your family life, your children, the focus. And then diligence to your work. If God's called you to the office, to the world of business, or the world of the arts, or the sciences, whatever, if you work in manual labor, 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week, whatever you do, God says you're to do it as unto the Lord. You're not supposed to be looking for an easy way out. You're supposed to be looking for the way to be so persistent in your diligence in your work that your faithfulness and your production enhance your testimony. A Christian ought to work harder than a non-Christian on the same job. A Christian ought to work longer hours. A Christian ought to go in a little early and leave a little late. A Christian ought to go the extra mile in your work because you represent Christ, and you ought to be sensitive ever and always that what I do reflects on Him. And then persistence in your ministry. We all have a ministry. I'm a pastor. That's my ministry. David Randlett, who with his wife MJ have been married 29 years this Thursday, have a ministry of music, both in the university and the church. These choir members have a ministry in music. These musicians who played and sang for us today have a ministry in music. These men behind these cameras and up in that control room way up there, they have a ministry in media. I can't do what they do, and they cannot do what I do, but we all together, with many of you with other ministries in this local church, can send the beacon of the gospel out to the world, and we've done it for 36 years. That's what I'm talking about. Persistence in your ministry. Your witness may be in the marketplace. The marketplace, where you work. Right there where you work. That may be where your ministry is. God may not have called you to teach or preach or speak publicly or sing, but you are His witness. You are His ambassador, and He's placed you there in the plant, the office, the business place, the marketplace. God's placed you there to, as your ministry, witness for Christ. When someone comes to me and says, "Preacher, I'm thinking about quitting my job. There's so much profanity around me and dirty language and evil goings on and drug dealing and everything," I always respond, "Did you ever think that maybe God put you there as His witness, as His missionary? God maybe didn't put you there to be comfortable. God may have put you there to represent Him." So we're to be persistent there. We're not to be quitting and getting upset all the time because things are not going the way we want them to go. And then your witness in the home. In the home. God may have called you to the ministry of motherhood and housemaker. And don't you ever let a Sally Jesse Raphael or a Geraldo Rivera or a Phil Donahue diminish in your mind the value and the worthwhileness of the ministry of motherhood and housemaking. That's big-time ministry for God. And don't for a moment let the feminists and the abortionists and the lesbians and all the rest, don't forever, one moment, allow them to put down what you are doing. That's a calling. And there, be persistently successful. Hey, it isn't easy to be inside four walls 24 hours a day and sometimes 7 days a week. And good mothers and good housemakers sometimes say, "Hey, this is my calling." I know my wife quit work when Jerry Jr. was born. And she didn't do any work outside the home until the kids had gotten up out of the nest. That was her choice, but she chose that. Now, financially, in today's economy, not many families can do that. But we sure can focus where the focus ought to be when we do have that time, and that is our children and our home and our family witness. And then your witness in the church. Your witness in the church. Boy, it's so important to be at the house of God a testimony. We're told that we are to be of good report of them that are without. The unsaved are to think well of